It's always a tough session just after lunch, I know, but I'm trying to make it as energizing as possible. So we're going to speak about automating spot buying. Respectively, I'm not going to speak about it, but I'm going to invite in a minute like 2 of our customers who have tried autonomous procurement already. So coming back to what Stefan said during his keynote at the very beginning, I mean, I guess we agree where we want to go, right? This beautiful picture of the fully automated supply chain, all digital, automated, maybe even autonomous to a certain extent, making use of those AI technologies. We could set up an AI counter somewhere, and I might be using AI a few more times in my presentation. But the point is, you know, what you see here is a first step in this direction, and it's not the future. It's not one of those marketing gags that you're confronted with on a daily basis. That's operational. The solution we're going to talk about, autonomous procurement, is actually ready for prime time, and customers like SAP and IKEA and Nestle, as you learned this morning from Andrew, they have already tried it, and they are quite successful with it. Now, I don't want to bore you with a lot of details, but how many of you know what autonomous procurement is all about? Few? Okay. So I'll spend like 2 minutes just explaining the concept. You know the classical spot bidding process. Best carriers, some of you are familiar with this, and there's nothing wrong with this process in general. It's just, you know, a shipper pushes a load onto a spot buying platform like Best Carrier, or there are other ones out there, and then typically you have to wait. You have to wait until bids are coming in. Bids that have been manually probably put by some carriers, taking a pen and a pencil, quite time consuming to come up with a perfect rate for this particular one. So they place their bid, and at a certain point in time, you decide upon the bid. And some carriers might be extremely disappointed because they went in quite aggressive and have not been awarded later on. There's a more efficient process handling this. Autonomous procurement basically turns that process upside down. So what it does, within the boundaries that you define, very important, you stay in control because you set the boundaries, you set the rules of this game. I feel sometimes customers are afraid of giving away control, autonomous, automated. That sounds like, oh, I lose control. That's not the point. So within the boundaries that you define, the system's going to predict a price that is acceptable by the carriers. And then it's going to make instantly acceptable offers to carriers. That's a big difference. So you're not asking for a bid, but you say, dear carrier 600, and it's yours. So it offers a match now functionality, similar to an eBay auction where you can click the buy it now button if that price is somehow worth it and it sounds attractive to you. Now what the system does is it uses AI, counter number 2, in order to predict the price per carrier that we believe he's most likely going to accept. And those prices are evolving over time. Obviously they're going up. As long as no carrier hits the match now button, those prices evolve, again, within the boundaries that you define. So you definitely define a hidden walk-away price. That's the maximum that you authorize the system to make a decision on its own. And then, you know, the first carrier who hits the match now button will get the load. Now you might think like, doesn't sound like a big deal. Well, it is actually. And I could tell you a lot about the benefits that customers are able to achieve with this, but I think it's more impressive if real customers who have tried it will tell you. And in this sense, it's my pleasure to welcome Denny Devert on stage from SAP. Denny.
Welcome. Again, nice to see you. Hello.
All right, take a seat. Thanks. Denny, you want to briefly introduce yourself and SAP to the audience?
Pleasure, and thank you for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to present what is SAP and what we do with Transporeon to develop our tools. I am procurement manager at SAP. I'm part of the global distribution organization that I will describe more in details later. So our tasks daily is to find trucks, to find hauliers via tenders. We build transportation plans that we run in our TMS, delivering on customers and trying to achieve service level and at the best cost balance. That's what we do daily. To present a bit, this is on screen here, all right. SAP is a hygiene company. We are a Swedish company. We manufacture and distribute hygiene products such as what you can see on screen, toilet paper, kitchen rolls. We do personal care products like baby diapers, incontinence care diapers. We're a world leader on this product. And feminine hygiene products. And more recently, purchasing a company, medical devices. So we have quite a wide range of products that we distribute to our customers via 3 business units. health and medical, consumer goods, and professional hygiene, among which we have two global brands, Torque and Tena. You might be using one of them, and I wish to you, you don't use the other one too soon in your life. We are present in 150 markets and countries. Half of our turnover is in Europe. That's for it. 15 billion euros net sales. I don't know why it increased a little bit over the last year. A bit of inflation in there. 10 to 15% of this amount is supply chain costs, a mix of warehousing, transportation. So you can imagine the pressure we have to keep under control those costs and trying to have the best tools to do it. To focus on what we do specifically, and here I'm not going to talk about supply chain, but purely on transportation. So it's similar to what has been presented by Nestlé this morning, roughly under the same timeline. We digitalized something that was very manual and decentralized, implementing first new tools and processes. So now we have in Barcelona here a team, some of which managers are in this room, that we call a Smart Hub, where we centralized activities around planning for different steps of the supply chain. So it's not only about transportation, it's forecasting, supply planning, production planning, and transportation that we have massified in one single location with, I think, 200 to 300 people working now with the same tools and processes, coming from a situation some years ago where we were really manual and decentralized. Talking a bit some numbers, we have 500,000 deliveries, shipments per year in Europe, 200,000 in North America. I forgot to say that we have also a hub in North America, but piloted from the same central center of excellence that is based in Barcelona here. Regarding the IT tools, in the background we have SAP, to which our TMS is connected. We invested in the Blue Yonder, as you can read. And any FTL flow we do is run with Transporeon.
Very good.
That's it.
Very good. Thanks for the intro. We have a second guest who is joining us virtually. Let's see if the technology works. So we have Anders Håkansson from IKEA. Anders, can you hear us?
Yes.
Oh, that's perfect. Awesome. Thanks a lot for the technical guys who made this happen. Anders, welcome on stage. You're virtually on stage talking to an audience of like 100, 150 people. I'm bad in guessing. And maybe you also can briefly introduce yourself. And, well, IKEA, I guess, is a well-known brand, but still, you want to introduce yourself briefly to the audience?
Yeah, I will not spend that much time on IKEA, but my name is Anders Håkansson. I work as Category Operations Manager for Global Land Transportation, placed in Switzerland. I have a background in the forwarding industry, 20 years plus in some of the European forwarding companies, and plus 10 years now at IKEA for the second time. So that is the brief introduction of me.
Very good. Thanks, Anders. Yeah, that makes it very interesting. Also your background, right? So you can also probably speak a bit, but we'll come to that later. Like, what is it happening on the other end side, right? It's always important not to just focus on the shipper or load giver side, but also on the carrier side. So let's jump into the topic. Denis, like, what was the initial approach when it comes to spot and contract of Essity?
Right. We have a logic of a stable and long-lasting relationship with our hauliers. We have around 800 reference companies, 500 are active. And we commit usually via contract for minimum 1 year duration. It can be up to 2-3 years, depending if it's international, domestic, or sophisticated transportation. But our approach is very much this way. Mm-hmm. We use spot only when there is a hiccup, a problem somewhere. We are short of capacity, we have a promotion, a peak or whatever, the market is short. And then we turn to the market, in the past using phone calls, emails, and since more than 5 years now, best carrier. So in a more structured approach, but to summarize it, really more in a reactive way than a proactive way. It used to be the case so far.
Yeah, I mean, we had this morning the session with Angie Acocella, super interesting. I mean, this is the million-dollar question, like what is the best approach, contract versus spot? But yeah, it makes a lot of sense what you describe here. Anders, how about you? How does IKEA look at Spot?
But we have done the same traditionally. We have used the platforms that are available, where you put the volumes or capacities and wait for the bids, as you explained. That has been the way for IKEA as well. It's a semi-time-consuming process, but it has worked well so far.
Okay. So you both have kind of experience with our product Best Carrier. There's nothing wrong with it, but probably there was some motivation, Denny, for you to give autonomous procurement a try. So what was the motivation?
First, Transporeon knocked at the door saying we have a product, so it was a motivation.
All right.
But actually, there are two, there are enablers and driver. The driver is cost saving. Okay, we try to find opportunities to have a cheaper supply chain. And the second is automation. We try, actually already 80% of our flows are touchless, meaning that any flow in our TMS is validated and accepted without our teams having to act on it. But it's only for the contracted TMS flows. If we talk about Spot, it's still a manual acceptance in Best Carrier where you select the load, you select the price, and it's manually validated by people in the regions. And what we wanted to test is the next step. That would be automation of that activity. And we have enablers on that, I think, to play with that new tool. It's the fact that the market insight is much better than what it used to be some years ago. Now we can connect, click, and have a look at the trends, compare contracted rates with spot rates. So we see country by country, but even region by region, if the trend is good or not so good, and if we need to change something. So we have the visibility. And internally, we've done also another step, which is to digitalize. And I think really that if we were to still be decentralized, manually planning, we could make a central decision, but nothing would happen. While today, having this common tool, common working approach, and an integrated organization from a hub to the countries, it's possible to make a decision and to have a rather fast implementation throughout the organization. So it's both the tools. Now we just need an intention.
All right, very good. We'll probably come back to these market insights later on and what tools are now like enabling you to have a better view on what's going on in the market. But before jumping into this one, Anders, how does that compare to you? Was it similar motivators for you to try autonomous procurement?
Yeah, similar motivator, but of course, time has been the challenge for us. We do some spot bookings and we have a reactive approach. That means that the admin process for securing the bids, nomination, agreements and stuff takes too long time, and it takes too much. We're delaying transports, more or less. And that was one of the reasons why we need to look into something more quickly and simple that would be set up in a more automated way.
All right. So to summarize probably here, motivators are cost savings, is like automation, right? Also to make sure that everyone follows the rules that you defined, right? I mean, this is the beauty of the tool that you can set up, right? But also time to capacity, Anders, if I understand you correctly, because, well...
Exactly, because you get a delay, yes, so you have a reactive approach. You always need to postpone the load, and that is the negative part. So therefore, the traditional way has not been good enough for us.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I always tell, you know, time is ticking, right? So every minute, probably not every minute, but every half hour is probably something that's reflected later on in the cost, right? When you search for spot capacity.
Somebody this morning spoke about the importance of planning. It's exactly the case. If you foresee a promotion, a launch, or a peak of activity on certain lanes, you might anticipate it, talking with your hauliers, but also maybe using other tools and methodologies than we used in the past.
Very good. And I think now the audience is very curious, like on this question. I could imagine it's probably even popping up in the app already. Let me ask you first, Anders, like what are the results so far with trying autonomous procurement?
From our perspective, it is the solution we asked for. So we will be ready with implementation of Europe within a couple of weeks. And what it gives us is the full automation. As you described in the introduction, you put the shipment on the platform with a price. Once it's selected by a carrier, the nomination process, the 4i principle, everything is fully automated, and the feedback gets back to our BMS. So it gives us everything we ask for. And the potential with this is that you could automate it even further. So you just place the shipment once on the platform, and then everything is fully automated.
All right, very good. Maybe because we have also a bit of time just to clarify how it works in general. We touched upon that in the beginning, but I think it's important for you to understand. So per shipment, you define this walkaway price, but that's obviously not shown to any carrier. That would be, then everyone would just wait until the system reaches that walkaway price. Now what the system does is, because I want to avoid that you think like, okay, another AI magic box. What's happening in this magic box? It's basically, the system takes historic information of the shipper. That's a good precondition. It's not necessary, right? But historic data on, if you have been using best carrier for a few years, well, there's a lot of historic information available. Huh? This is one thing. The second thing is, market insights, we manage it. Also, the system realizes where are we in the market conditions. Is it a tight, is it a soft market? And then the system starts predicting a price where we believe that could be acceptable by the carriers, and it's going to be shared with those carriers. Very important, it's a closed platform, right? So if you're not familiar with, also our best carrier is in a closed environment. So don't be afraid when we speak about spot that it goes to the outside world, and all carriers in this world, if they fulfill your quality requirements, yes or no, will get access to that. That's not the point, right? You clearly define which are the carriers that should get access to it, and then the system will make those instantly acceptable offers and increase them over time, obviously within the boundaries you gave. So it's never going above the walkaway price we decided. Anders, we'll come to you in a minute. Anders, can you share a bit like the automation quote? Are there any KPIs you can probably share on how much is automated thanks to it?
I would say now that we are stabilizing everything. I would say that we are about 95%.
Wow.
In full automation. And that means really full automation. And what you say about the walk-away prices as well is that we use a combination of that. If we have a price in our system on the corridor, we use that as a walk-away price. But if we don't have it, then we use the Transporeon spot booking, the market intelligence from Transporeon to identify the walkaway price. So you can use the combination of those, which I think is extra good.
Well, Denis, how about you? Any results you can share with the audience?
Yeah, describing the way we organize this trial, because we are not running it fully yet. We are still using mostly best carrier for about, it depends on the period, but it's, 2 to 5% of the loads, depending on the lanes, countries, and periods. We decided to test this summer the tool AP. So it started with a project mode, I think around 2 months, where teams of Transporeon and our own teams work together to prepare the settings, define the scope, and that's where we discovered the mechanics of the tool, and that was quite an important step to understand exactly, at least not exactly, but a little bit how the system works, okay? So we have selected 2 markets, France and Germany, 30 lanes, mostly domestic, but a bit of international. We invited to that exercise around 70 hauliers, not brand new hauliers because we're not very bold. Okay, we took the usual hauliers we work with, both for ongoing operations in our plants, but also for best carrier. So companies we trust and would play the game. And we triggered that during a period of 6 weeks, running the trial in those conditions.
Very good. Any results?
Results, right. Two types of results. Mechanization, so is it working fine or not, and do we get money from it? Regarding the automation, it climbed a little bit in time, okay? But we reached, not being to the extreme of IKEA, around 70 to 80% of successful allocation touchless with the tool. So that was giving good results. And that's for the automation. It took a bit of settings, because France and Germany, we don't plan in the same way. In France, you need to plan 2 days ahead because we take a little time to plan. While in Germany, it's day -1 before loading. So the settings are not the same. Then the walkaway price had to be fine-tuned too. So we touched those parameters, and after a couple of weeks, we reached good results, and the KPIs kept on improving as we were running on. So I think this was good results. Now, financially, you said at the beginning that spot can be costly, and it's true that it's not always the case, but it's quite generally the case. If I take the markets or the regions where we use it, usually we can pay sometimes plus X%. If you go to the east, it's a bit easier, but we have less flow to the east, unfortunately. What we wanted to do with that test is to compare the results of best carrier with autonomous procurement. So actually, we were sending every day the drops to the same hauliers for the same lanes, using the two systems, and we collected the answers in order to have comparison that we could do directly in the tool. And it was a couple of 100 loads, so the sample was not huge, but the results were still meaningful and all going in the same direction, that we had clearly a price advantage with autonomous procurement.
All right. And I'm not going to ask any deeper, but there was advantages. And you described just also the best practice approach. And Anders, I think you also did some A/B comparison over a certain period of time, right? So a test, like run those two in parallel?
Yeah, we have done it tests, and then we had an implementation country by country. So it's
all right. And in terms of results, I'm not fishing for a number, but are you happy with the results as well? Would you confirm that?
I mean, from an automation perspective, 100% clear. From a money perspective, we are satisfied as well. So there is no negative feedback when it comes to that.
Very good.
From our perspective.
Very good. Maybe some words on this A/B comparison we were speaking about. If you want to really try it, you need to run kind of your classic spot approach, which can be best carrier and autonomous procurement in parallel, on ideally the same lanes during the same period of time, because otherwise you might have a biased solution, or a biased results. Sorry, not a solution, but a biased results. Meaning, market volatility can jeopardize your KPI findings of this. So the best practice, if you're an existing Transporeon customer using best carrier, is to activate it kind of for 6 weeks, probably, in parallel, right? And then to avoid any kind of bias again, you put a randomizer in place. So for example, every even transport number goes to best carrier, every odd transport number goes to autonomous procurement. And then after 6 weeks, you can normalize the data and look at a price per ton per kilometer or something. And then you really know that you compared kind of apples with apples and not apples with oranges, which would happen if you test 2 months the best carrier and 2 months then the autonomous procurement. Market conditions might affect your KPIs. Very nice, very nice. Now, the question is, what does the other side, and probably we have carriers in the room, what is the feedback from the carriers so far, Benny?
Okay. What I wanted to say also regarding the trial is that it was important to be able to customize lane by lane nearly. We've done it market by market, but it's possible to go down in details, select exactly the hauliers you want to use for every lane, and that kind of setting is extremely important because we don't use the same hauliers. They are drawn with a lot of data, and that focus at the same time help to have useful results, and also gives confidence to our users, because if you hand over the job to the machine and you do it yourself, our planners or coordinators, they don't choose anymore the haulier. It's the machine that does, more or less. Okay. and therefore being able to be selective and focused lane by lane on the hauliers you want to select is really an important step. And now, reaction of the hauliers. For some topics, they agreed, and for other topics, there were disagreements. The topic of agreement is that the prices are too low. Okay, all right. So, and there was a genuine interest of the hauliers to understand the mechanics in the system, because for some, they knew it, and they were working with some of the companies we've seen this morning, and so they knew the tool. And for other ones, it was more a discovery, and therefore, although the training was, I think, a bit light, there is clearly a need to understand more and to have some education on that. So I think that was, you like what you know and what you can master, and the companies that knew the tool tend to like it a lot, which is not the case of some others. So that was the different reactions regarding both the price estimations and also the way the system works.
I expected the first reaction, so yeah.
Also, and I think it may be a bit of details, but maybe due to the fact that they are used to work in base carrier. In there they find all the information around the load, like delivery time, all the schedules and text information that maybe is more difficult to find or that they did not manage to find in the other tools. So maybe some fine-tuning could
Definitely.
could help.
We're going to continue developing the tools, definitely based on the feedback from both sides of the equation. Anders, what about your carriers? Any feedback from their inside? And also looking at your previous role,
I would say that we don't have exactly the same situation. We have, I think it's more the change itself, that we change from one solution to something else. That has been taking some time to get all carriers on board. But I haven't got any negative feedback from the carriers when it comes to the new solution, so to speak. So I would say it's positive. I would say additionally that we know that we have carriers having AI technology on their side as well, which are searching the autonomous procurement platform automatically. So when there is load on a corridor where they have a need and the price is right, they will automatically select that shipment on the autonomous procurement. And they know they get it. So that's the beauty here. So I think we don't see the full possibility of this solution yet.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so that in the sample of hauliers we used, all of them answered, all the ones that are users of a spot, but the balance between base carrier and AP is not the same. So some technological companies with savvy users increased their rate, and as you were describing, took the chance and more opportunities to grow their volume. So.
It's a trend that's coming from the US, right? That also carriers start investing into technology to automatically scan spot platforms and to make automatically quotes on certain spot loads. Now, we see that trend, and you just confirmed that also coming over to Europe. Biggest carriers have invested in technology, built their own solutions around this one. No, we see that carriers also start investing into technology. That's one thing. But also, those mid-sized carriers, I only can assume, and I talked to one of my colleagues in my team that is coming from the carrier side, who said that match now is just the game changer for them, right? So I always bring the example, look at it from the perspective of the carrier. Yeah, it's 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and there's an interesting load popping up for the asset you want to equip with a load, right? So it's your shipment, and the market price is 800 on that day, but you say like, hey, that's mine. I want to have this one. I go in aggressive, 600, it's mine. And by the way, you have probably private plans for the evening. You want to watch the game on television with your son. You're more or less sure because no one else is going to be that aggressive. 600, it's yours. But then what do, right? You check at 6 just before leaving the office. Oh, someone else was even more aggressive. And that's exactly the point where the beauty of that match now functionality on the carrier side kicks in, right? If a carrier would have been asked at 4, in my example, 580 euros and it's yours. So it's 20 euros below the bid he would have placed if you would have asked for a bid. But that's exactly that principle that he might say like, yeah, okay, But if he hits the match now button at 4, job done, load, asset equipped with the right load for tomorrow, because he doesn't know, is there anything better popping up within the next 2 hours, right? And he has probably private plans in the evening. So this is exactly why, at least from my perspective, carriers are, for carriers, the match now functionality is extremely interesting. And helping them also to get the confirmation right now, right? And not in 2 hours probably, and your working day continues until you find a load. At probably less than 580, right? That's exactly what we're talking about here. So looking a bit ahead, Denny, how do you envision moving on with autonomous procurement? You partly mentioned it, but what's next?
Yeah. Internally, we need to make a decision about how we implement it, but clearly it has showed an advantage, so we are going to consider it. We are quite democratic, so we have discussions internally with the regions, with the people owning the P&Ls, and we are going to sell internally that system to try and implement it selectively where we believe it makes full sense. But looking at the future, it's a mix of things. Pushing the tool without the process or the understanding is difficult and not so effective. So now it's more education, training the people, explaining and ensuring that there is a good buy-in internally. And then I think we will have an effective rollout.
Very good. Good to hear. And happy to be part of that. I mean, we listen carefully to those customers who are now giving it a try and to their feedback. So it's also the chance to develop, this product together with us. So really looking forward to that. How about you, Anders? What's your next steps around AP?
I mean, we are working, we finalize Europe now, and then the next step will be to implement it in Asia Pacific as well. So we are going forward with this solution. Then I would say as well, I think you were discussing ghost lanes yesterday or something. And I think that is as well something that we will look into. Where if you have only a shipment every second week, maybe you don't need to do the procurement of that one. You could use autonomous procurement instead. And I think that is something that we haven't talked about yet, but will be the next step as well.
Very good, very exciting. So if you don't know what a ghost lane is, reach out to me or Angie Acocella afterwards in one of those breaks. It would probably be too much because we're a bit running out of time. Just in a nutshell, a ghost lane is a lane where you secure a rate as part of your procurement exercise, but you don't know if any volume is going to materialize. And Angie Acocella did some scientific research that this is not a good approach. You'll find more information or contact us if you want to find out more about ghost lanes. Very exciting topic. Super. Looking at the time, I probably want to open the Q&A session. Do we have questions from the audience to Denny or Anders? There's one?
Hi, it's Pino Della Ragione speaking. I'm the Supply Chain and Logistics Excellence Director for Ariston in Italy, construction. Very, very interesting. Thank you for your feedback. I'm just curious. You say that to set up the system, we need to put specific information by the lanes, market and lanes, right? Just to specify, okay. My question is, the automated system is able, just in case we have an unexpected lane, to try to manage it as well in an automated way?
Yeah. I mean, probably you want to answer?
I don't know.
No, just in a nutshell, it works, the system works without historic information, right? What we need is a walk-away price. So you need to define this is the maximum price you're willing to pay for this one. And then the system, if it doesn't have any kind of historic information, it will just start probably very low. And it's going to start, increasing the offers over time until someone hits the match now button. And this is the beauty about those solutions, right? I mean, the more you utilize them, the smarter they get. Because they will remember, like, okay, for this one, it was 680, so it remembers for the next time, right? So it works without historic information. If you can feed the system initially with some content, it even works better.
Thank you. And another one, another question is, what's happened if in some cases the automated spot with the rule we define doesn't have nobody
Yep.
selecting? There is any negotiation that made by the system? I don't know.
Well, they are, in the worst case, you have to replan the load, but actually you can still make a decision after the load has expired. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
So when Anders was speaking about 95%, Anders, how are you dealing with those 5%? Are you accepting counter offers or?
Yeah, different solutions you can do. You could postpone the shipment itself to give the platform some more days in order to get the price. You could put it on best carrier instead of autonomous procurement. So there are multiple ways of solving those issues. But of course, those 5% need some manual actions.
Okay. About this 5%, just asking to Transporeon, the system itself considers this information in order to give to me the feedback about, hey, pay attention, you have to refine your rules because this 5 can become 6 and 7 and can grow.
Yes, absolutely. And I didn't mention this. The system allows the carriers to place so-called counter offers. So that means, let's say the walkaway price was 1,200. The carrier can place a counter offer of 1,500. And if you end up in a situation where the system was not making a decision because there was no one accepting under 1,200, you can still manually go in and accept that 1,500, right?
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. All right, running out of time a bit. If you have more questions, reach out. Thank you very much, Anders, and thank you very much, Denis. Very interesting session. Thank you.
thank you very much.